Alright, here is the review for the Unit 10A, the odds. So starting with number 1, we have to first identify by degree. So to identify by degree, we're going to look at the biggest number up here, and in this case it's a 2. That means that we have a quadratic. Then we're going to name it by the number of terms. And the number of terms, we've got 1 piece, 2 piece, and 3 pieces being put together. So this is a trinomial. And then the leading coefficient for this one, well, the number that comes in front here is actually a 1. Alright, on number 3, we're going to look at the degree, and in this case there's a 1 here. And so that would make this linear. And if we look at the number of terms, well, here we only have 1 term. So what do we call that? That is a monomial. And in this case, the leading coefficient is going to be 3. That's how you do 1 and 3. Let's take a look at 5 and 7. On 5, we're going to be asked to subtract these two polynomials. And we know it's subtract because there's a subtraction here in between the parentheses. Well, to get rid of that subtraction, we're going to add the opposite. So the opposite of 3x squared would be negative 3x squared. And the opposite of minus 8x would be plus 8x. And the opposite of minus 4 would be plus 4. Now we look to combine like terms. So here I have 14x squared and a negative 3x squared. So 14 minus 3 would be 11x squared. And that takes care of our squares. And now I have a negative 5x and a positive 8x. Well, that would be a positive 3x. And I have plus 2 and plus 4, that would give me plus 6. So number 5, my answer would be 11x squared plus 3x plus 6. On 7, this one here is an addition one, so we can jump right to combining like terms. So looking at 7, I'm looking for the largest exponent, and so we just have x squared, nothing goes with it. We can't combine it, so it's just x squared. I have a positive 8x and a negative 8x. Well, positive 8x and a negative 8x equals 0. So I'm just going to get rid of those. Negative 11 and a positive 10 would give me minus 1. So my answer for number 7 is x squared minus 1. Let's take a look at 9 and 11. On number 9, I'm going to be distributing this 6x squared to what's in the parentheses. So we're going to go 6x squared times 4x. Well, 6 times 4 is 24. And x squared times x would be x to the third. And now I'm going to do 6x squared times 2, which would be plus 12x squared. And that is my answer for number 9. On number 11, we're going to have to FOIL these. So g times g, our first, would be g squared. Our outer would be g times negative 5, which is negative 5g. So first outer, now we're going to do inner, which would be negative 4g. And last, negative 4 times negative 5, which would be positive 20. So I get g squared minus 9g plus 20. And that's my answer for number 11. Let's take a look at 13 and 15. Number 13, this is one where we can use the special products if we can remember to do it. The special products rule is telling us that if we have a minus b times a plus b, what we can do is just change that into a squared minus b squared. So in this case, t squared would be t squared minus 49. So there's my answer if I use kind of the shortcut. If I FOILed it, I would get first, which would be t squared. Outer would give me 7t. Inner would give me negative 7t. And last would give me negative 49. Combining like terms, I would have positive 7t and negative 7t. That's 0. So I get t squared minus 49. If you can remember the special products, it'll make these problems a lot easier. Number 15 is another example of what we just did, and I can identify that because one is plus and one is minus. So a squared would be 25d squared minus 2 squared is 4. So very easy if you can remember the special product properties. If you can't, then you would have to FOIL it, which would give you 25d squared. Outer would give you negative 10d. Inner would give you positive 10d. And last would give you minus 4. The negative 10d and the positive 10d would go away, and you'd get 25d squared minus 4. So either way, you get the same answer. It just depends on how much work you want to put in. On number 17, I'm going to have to multiply. We're talking about multiplying this whole thing times this. And we have to do it a piece at a time. So I'm going to just start with y. Y times y squared would be y to the third. Y times y would be a positive y squared. And y times 1 would be plus y. Now I'm going to take the negative 3 and do the same thing. Negative 3 times y squared would be negative 3y squared. Negative 3 times y would be negative 3y. And negative 3 times a positive 1 would be minus 3. Now I have the opportunity to combine like terms. You can see here that I have y to the third, and there's nothing else that's to the third, so that's going to stand. I've got y to the second and negative 3y to the second, so that's going to give me negative 2y to the second. I have a negative 3y and a positive y. That's going to give me negative 2y. And then last, I have the minus 3. This is written in standard form, and everything is simplified. Y to the third minus 2y squared minus 2y minus 3. Number 19 is the exact same thing. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to start by taking the y. This would give me 3y to the third. Y times y would be y squared. Y times 2 would be 2y. Negative 5 times 3y squared would be negative 15y squared. Negative 5 times y would be negative 5y. And a negative 5 times 2 would be minus 10. Combining like terms, I don't see anything to go with the degree of 3, so that's just going to be 3y to the third. Y squared, I have a negative 15y squared and a positive 1y squared. That's going to be minus 14y squared. Positive 2y and a negative 5y would give me negative 3y. And then just minus 10 stands alone. 3y to the third minus 14y squared minus 3y minus 10 would be my answer for number 19. And that completes the review. Good luck.